everybody, welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Pinner. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go!
Contact through the Mercedes teammate.
Denoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count down Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher win for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Right, here we are. Welcome everyone and a very good evening to PSGL Season 38 PCF4, where tonight it's time for round 3, a race in Belgium at Spa-Francorchamps. I'll be your host for tonight. My name is Mitsky, and tonight alongside me in the commentary box we have a new face. Mackie is here. What's up?
Yeah, no, not much really. I'm just sort of around tonight, so I thought I'd fill in for the first time in what's been a few weeks since I've been available for PSGL.
Yes, so nice to have you alongside me here in the commentary box. We already had a lot of action in the 2 previous races. Today we've got Belgium. What are your thoughts on Belgium, Mackie?
Well, it's arguably one of the best tracks currently on the F1 calendar. It's been in it for decades. It's a very traditional track, and it's always lent itself to have a huge amount of action, so I'm very much looking forward to this race.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this race as well. We have a little bit of time before we're going to get started, so that means we have some time to have a quick recap about the race last time out, and also a little bit about the standings. And I'll make sure to, of course, repeat that during the break, so that the people that miss it now will also get it later on. But for last week's race, it was a pole position for Theo. Sadly could not convert that pole position into a race win, but still got a 3rd place, so very, very well done from his end. But the race win did go to Daniel Gottschalk. He picks up his 1st win of the season after a 10th place in round 1, moves him up 2nd in the standings with 17 points, but the man still leading the championship is Exafox. The 1st and 2nd place. 2nd place last time out when we were in Texas means he's on 28 points, and joining us 3rd in the rankings is Lighty with a 4th and now 5th place. So those are your standings for a time being, and I think to just make it a little bit clear for you, might as well just show it on the screen so you can see the entire standings all the way through. So before we find Campbell Adams, he will be driving tonight as well, one of our reserve drivers, and it's Alexander Dimas, who was not there last week, Theo, who had a great race result in Koda, Bogdan Moldovan, who has 9 points currently in 7th, and to round off the top 10 we have Isaac Leeds, Adam Schummer, and Yerning Dovzan with 5 points, 6th place that he got last week out. Quite a few familiar names for you as well, Mackie. Which drivers are you keeping an eye on tonight?
Well, for me, I've already got to just look straight to top of the standings right now. You've got Exafox up there with an 11-point lead after just 2 rounds, which is absolutely insane. And I also know that Daniel Gottschalk as well has a lot of pace. So I'm looking for a battle between those two when the race does come around.
That sounds very good. And yeah, we know Fox, he set one of the best quali laps we've ever seen here at F4 last season out, when he was almost 3/10 clear of the entire grid. So we know how strong he is here in Spa. So I think this will be a very, very dangerous track to try and contest him. And I really, really do wonder if anyone can beat him at all. But meantime, let me just quickly move into the game. It looks like the drivers are not readying up yet. But yeah, I do expect a lot from Fox tonight, and well, he is also our championship leader for the time being, but I think he's also one of the guys that could go for the title this time round. We of course have more drivers trying to contest him. Daniel Gottschalk, he had a great result last time out. I do expect a lot from Alexander Dimas as well, who's been strong in previous seasons too, and I think Theo Bones is also starting to pick up a little bit. I hope for Campbell Adams that he can get a permanent seat, so he can mix him in with the fight. And despite a little bit of disappointing results so far for Isaac Lead, I do think that he can put himself up in the mix as well. So I think we have a good 5-6 drivers that can go for the title, and I think that makes it quite interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's lending itself already to be an interesting championship. Of course, it's only been 2 races. You've got most of the season still to go, including this race, where Belgium or Spa is a track where it's so technical, especially going through the second and third sectors, that you've really, really just got to be careful on how you're driving it. And a race like this can change how an entire championship runs the rest of its course.
So we are now loading into the game for the qualifying session. We'll have a qualifying session of 18 minutes as per usual. Afterwards, we will have a short break where we change the settings, and then we will have a 22-lap race around the track here in Spa, the longest track on the calendar, with 7 kilometers and 4 meters to be precise, 19 corners, and of course some very iconic corners that we have as well, with Arouge and Radillon, the Camel Straight through Pouhon, Blanchimont, and finally the bus stop chicane, just to name a couple. It is a track with a lot of history, a lot of iconic moves and races, and tonight here at PSGL we hope to be adding some more to that tally.
Absolutely, it's going to be hopefully a very interesting qualifying session we're about to have, and then hopefully a just as interesting race after that as well.
So we have now loaded in. As you can see, the screens have changed. We see a few of the mechanics also moving out, so it looks like we'll be seeing some laps happening very shortly. And I think Alexander Dimas, well, he seemed to be the first one leaving, but a couple of drivers actually out of the pits way quicker than he was, because that box of the Red Bull is further down the line. It is actually Bogdan Moldovan who is the first one out on track, who is going to be driving on the outlap here. It's nice to see as well that we have the real world F1 cars instead of the F1 World cars, so I'm very glad that PSGL goes with that. Makes it a lot a lot easier for us as well as commentators, but I think for the drivers as well, knowing a little bit where to go with pit stops, so you don't get into messy situations due to a bit of RNG there.
Yeah, of course, of the F1 World cars, you don't always exactly know who's sharing the same pit box as you, so it can get a little bit messy when the pit stops come around. You can get stuck behind someone, and if you're not under safety car conditions, that can honestly completely mess your entire race up.
In the meantime, Bogdan Moldovan is making his way around Pouhon. Does get track limits there, but of course still on the outlap, so that does not matter too much. We have a little bit of time until he completes this lap before we can take ourselves on through a nice flyer of his first lap on board around this 7-kilometer track. Now, for tonight, of course, we've had our fair share of controversies in the real F1 world. Let's hope we don't get too many of these controversies here tonight in Spa. But with especially very tight turn 1, we see usually some late sends in the final laps coming into the bus stop chicane as well. So it could be elbows out for quite a few drivers later on tonight.
Yeah, lap 1's always very interesting around here, especially going into turn 1. But Myth, why don't you take us through this hot lap here with Bogdan?
Well, let's take us through as he breaks the 80-meter board just to get in there through La Source, now down the hill, making his way up on through Arouge and Radillon. Now make sure, turn 3 here, that's Arouge, and you go up through Radillon, and then make your way down the Camel Straight. And that's where we are now. DRS open for the first time on this track as we make our way down the long straight. And then we're going to get a right left-hander braking late, the 50-meter board, through Lecombe 5 and 6, onto right through Malmedy, and now once more down the hill. A little bit of a blind corner, one of the most difficult corners here. Rivage at turn number 8 before we make our way through Speaker's Corner. Very fast corner, easy to go off track and catch some track limits. But now we have one of the most thrilling corners to take. It's Poolhaw 10 and 11. Also very easy to get track limits here. Bogdan keeps it nice and tidy between the lines as he makes his way down through Lafine 12 and 13. So try and take a little bit of curb there. The curbs have actually been a lot narrower than they were in the previous game. He's now braking 14 right through Stavelo. That's now sector 3 through Curveball Frere. And now he's going to make his way up into Blanchimont. Corners where overtakes are still possible around the outside or around the inside. Very risky to do here, but we've definitely seen that it is possible in the past. And now he's going to make his way down just before the 100-meter mark. Right at the 100-meter mark, he brakes into the bus-stop chicane, goes a little bit wide there in 18, but makes a nice exit. And now down the start-finish straight. The first lap is a 1:41.4 for Bogdan Moldovan.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very decent lap time, especially as we're seeing some more lap times come through. Lucas Baisner able to do a 1:41.3. Also, we're going to be a 1:41.09 for Alexander Dimas as well, currently on your provisional poll. As we see more and more time start flying in, Alessandro is able to do a 1:41.4, very close to what Bogdan was able to do, in fact. As it goes through, it looks like we're really going to be sitting around this 1:41.2 mark for this first set of runs, which I imagine we're going to start breaking to the 140s. And as I say that, Exafox, they're the first one to break into the 140, 1:40.98.
Great run by the man who's currently in the championship. We already mentioned him beforehand that he was one of the quicker drivers out there. I believe last time round he was able to do a 46 or even a 45, which is insanely fast around this track, with a first run of a 49. Only marginally quicker than Campbell Adams and Kai, but I'm pretty sure there is much more in the tank for the man in the Aston Martin. Currently spectating Theo Bones, but I don't think he's going for anything for now. He's currently in 6th with a 41.1. We've had a few drivers aboard their laps. Daniel Gottschalk was one of the drivers. It seemed like he had already aborted before he cut the corner at turn 18, which we saw on the stream. As for the other drivers, not too sure, but looks like Joao Pina is now coming out of the pit box, so he will be driving on his out lap, whereas the other drivers will now make their way in. Joao is already in the 3rd sector, actually, so he will be able to get started on that run shortly. So I have a little bit more than 12 minutes on the clock, so drivers will be preparing for their second run in the next couple of minutes, and then we can see who can contest Exavox. But I do expect the pole time to be a couple of tenths down on what we currently see.
Yeah, absolutely. We could honestly see the lap times drop, I'd say, almost as far down as a 40.6 if I was prepared. So we see Piana now is going to go and start their lap time, driving for Haas, of course, to head into turn 1. But interestingly, with Gottschalk having aborted his lap previously, he's got to go around again. Is now sort of on a bit more of a alternate run plan compared to everyone else.
Yeah, very much so, in an alternate run plan. Lighty has done the same, so I do assume that he went for he had an invalidation as well on his first lap. Joao was actually the only one who stayed in that pit box to go out of sync with all the other drivers. So he's now making his way down the Camel Straight. His first sector time, lovely 31 dead. Just on there, of course, has a purple sector, but that is because he is now driving his first lap around the track. Track should have improved a little bit. That might play into his cards a little bit. We'll have to see if he's able to do 2 or 3 runs all the way through, as there's still 11 minutes left on the clock. But I think if he hurries up a bit, he definitely will be able to do an extra run. Now remember that Teo came round in a 1:13.6, I think, in the 2nd sector. So let's see how fast Joao is, if he's anywhere close. Let's hope I was accurate with that, but he goes a little bit wide into the turn 12 through the first corner of Lafanya. He's going to make his way down to the sector board. He's at a 14 dead, so he's a couple of tenths off. Not the best run so far, but he will need to get a little bit closer to tail if he wants to get a good lap out there on the board.
Yeah, and of course we head towards bus stop chicane now. It's going to be, it's a section of track we can really make a lot of times as he breaks just past the 100-meter board. He slides it round, locks up on that right-hand side, and then gets a decent exit there. Maybe could have taken a little bit more of the curb on the outside, but that's going to be a 1:41.7. Unfortunately, the slowest time set so far.
Yeah, slowest time set so far as Lighty comes around the first sector with a 30.5. Making his way around the second sector. We know what the times are that we should aim for, so around the second sector should be about a 1:13.5 if you want to be really quick there, as he's now making his way around turn 13. So in a couple of seconds we'll be able to see if he's on for provisional pole or if he's nowhere near where he needs to be, but he is very fast. That's at 13.1. That's half a second quicker than Theo Bones was earlier on, so should be on for about a 1:46 or 1:47. This is a great lap from Lighty so far with just 3 corners left to go. Now made his way around the second bus stop. Through the second Blanchimont, sorry, and now breaking into the bus stop chicane. A little bit wide through the first one. Good exit nonetheless. Now making his way to the start finish straight, and that is a 40.8, losing a little bit in the final sector there, but might have also something to do with his setup. Now next in line is Daniel Gottschalk. He had a 13.3, also very competitive, 2/10 down on what Lighty was able to do, but if he's a little bit quicker in that final sector, could still get close. It's close enough. 5th place for Daniel Gottschalk so far, and more drivers are now out. Every car is actually on track so far. A few drivers are on the hot lap, and most notably Bogdan Moldovan and Alessandro Finn are currently driving for that, and I believe Bogdan is the first in line to set a lap time.
Yes, he absolutely is. He now goes onto the Kemmel Straight after having a very good run through Eau Rouge and Radion. He's going to come through now to end sector 1 as we head into 7, 8 and 9. It's looking good. He's cutting those inside curves as much as the game is going to allow him to, as he hits around to that outside, making sure to not go too far on it, because it does have a little bit of a raised bit which could mess with the aero on the car. So go through now, going down the hill. It's still looking good. Goes through a bit on the outside of the curb. I think almost touched the gravel there, Myth. I could be wrong, but as we head now into Puon, it's going to be looking good, staying within those track limits, but only just there. Gets a little bit, maybe could have taken a little bit more out of that curb on the outside, but decides not to. Continuing with this very smooth run, almost looked like he lost the rear end on the curb there. Once again, he's really pushing the limits of what this car's allowing him to do. That's going to be a purple second sector. He's 1/10 up on his previous, so it's looking like it could be a very fast lap, Myth.
Could be a quite fast lap indeed. Currently a 10th.5 up on his own lap time, but seeing his split sector times, I think he should be on for a 41.2, maybe even a 41.1, so round around the times of Theo Bones and, well, he's listed as Giovinazzi. Now Bogdan Moldovan is going to come through, and indeed he will be 9th place, slotting in nicely between the two, so that is well predicted. Always nice to see as well, as we now should see Alessandro Finn cross the line, but he's actually aborted, not going for the lap that he was hoping to see. Now next in line, I'm not sure that is a Williams. That is the Williams of the man that we call Giovinazzi, and he comes round in 2nd. He's only the 3rd driver to beat that 1:41 mark. Lighty's now gone into the pits. Exafox is currently out on track as Dennis Langrock, so 2nd fastest. Exafox was quicker. Is it quick enough for provisional pole? No, he loses a little bit of time the last second, but Campbell Adams, a 1:40.6, shaves off 3/10s on his own best lap prior to this. And more drivers are coming through. Exafox has dropped the ball a little bit. He's now tumbling down the order. He's already down to 6th. But Isaac Lead and Kai, the 2 McLarens, 2nd and 3rd. Some really good laps from them.
Yeah, those 2 McLarens just came through there with both setting 1:40.7s, but the real story here, Campbell Adams able to do a 1:40.6, only driving as a reserve this season, but is currently, I think if I remember, 4th in the championship. So if drivers who are full-time continue to not be available and can keep filling that reserve slot, I would say he's potentially a championship contender.
Yeah, we've seen this before in previous seasons where there's a reserve driver that can take it up with the big guns, with the guys up on front, and Campbell Adams, definitely one of those guys. We've seen him being very close in qualifying sessions and also in races. He's been very competitive. Last time out in Kota, he got a little bit of wing damage, which did hamper his success, which means that he's now a little bit down comparison to championship leader Exafox, but still early on in the season, so definitely still able to take it to a championship fight later on. So let's hope he does get a full-time seat later on, because he definitely does deserve it with the performance that he's shown so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just going to wait now. We're in another little bit of a dead period, so just wait for everyone to head back to the pit lane for one final run with just 5 minutes left on the clock. But it looks like Piano's currently out on the track, trying to set a lap time. Currently down in P18. Be looking to improve on that. I didn't quite see what the split was going past the Sector 1, Sector 2 line, but as we just go through Puon now, is it looking good? Keeping within track limits. I think everyone's being really careful around there. You don't want to be invalidating your lap time. I'm not sure if it's a full pace run or not. I can't quite tell.
Well, his first sector time was a 10th up on his previous lap time, so I do think it is a quick run. It does go very wide, but look at that, 4 10ths up now. That's a pretty good middle sector from Joao Piana, as 4 10ths up would only improve him by 1 position, because the field is quite densely packed together, with the gap from 16 all the way to P9 being a little bit over 1/10. Shows how close most of the drivers are, and then the gap towards the front of the field is a little bit bigger. But Joao's actually opted to abandon his lap. I think he realized that lap was a good improvement, but not good enough to put himself further up the order, and indeed with only 1 position to be gained, it's probably better to head into the pit and give yourself an opportunity for 1 more lap. We have one other driver currently out, that is Light. He was 4 10ths down in that first sector, but he set one of the fastest first sectors out there with a 30.5.
Yeah, absolutely. Having just that small gap of the first sector, still has every chance going through its sectors 2 and 3 to create some improvement. So hitting that outside curb once again. You've got to be careful on the inside curb through the sections. There's a little bit of grass there you just want to avoid. The rear end slides out a little bit, and then just cutting across for that outside curb once again. Cutting across the inside, hitting another outside curb, and then as you go through, it says it's another purple sector 2, but I think there might actually be a slight issue because everyone apparently set purple sector 2s. So as we now go down now, we're going to head straight towards bus stop chicane. So we hit that 100-meter board, but breaking between that and the start of the curb. And then going through bus stop. It's one of the cleaner bus stop chicanes I've seen so far today. And there we go. That's going to be a 140.6, goes straight up into second place. But won't have enough time to go back around for the pit lane. So that might be his qualifying over.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if we can see how much fuel he's got on board. He's still trying to drive around fairly fast, but I think that is indeed qualifying done for Lighty. Very good run though, 4 thousandths off of Campbell Adams' lap time only, so that is not much whatsoever. And if I currently look at the minimap, looks like one of the Ferraris is furthest down the line, so that is either Alessandro Finn. It is Alessandro Finn. Menno de Bevers just 4th in line for the time being. But we're now going to prepare ourselves for the final runs for tonight. We have a little over 2 minutes left on the clock. With the track being this long, it means that this lap will be do or die, especially for your current top 4. For Campbell Adams, well, Lighty's already done with his qualifying, but Isaac Lead and Kai as well, they can take a little bit more risk because they already have a pretty good lap time. The drivers behind them have to improve by a little over a 10th, but I'm very, very curious to see what Exafox can do here in his final run. We know he's quick around this track, and if he can pull one out of the hat, he could be able to improve by 4 tenths or maybe even half a second tonight. But Alessandro Finn goes into the pit lane. Alessandro Finn is... What? He's not going to do a lap?
That's interesting. That's his session over. So he'll be starting at best 17th on the grid. But let's not have that distract us from what is happening out on track. Alexander Dimas, another name to watch. Unfortunately down in 13th place right now. To see if he's going to be able to improve as he heads through the first turn.
Yeah, so he's now making his way down the hill before getting through legendary Eau Rouge and Rania. I've actually been here at this track once more, and what really does catch you off guard is how much of an elevation change you have on this track. It's just so lovely to see the cars, even if it's just GT cars, but with F1 cars, it's just that more spectacular given the speed that they go through, as Alexander Dimas gets a fastest first sector so far, 5 thousandths of a second up on his own lap time. is 2 tenths down on Light in his first lap, but this is a fairly competitive first sector time, as the other drivers were not able to get too close. I think that's mostly due to some setup as well. But Dimas going very quickly through Speaker's Corner, taking a lot of grass there as well, but it does not seem to slow him down at all. A lot of risk, swinging it into Puhan, but the car does stay nice and tidy. As, ooh, that was a big slide heading into Lafayette. Let's see if he does not lose too much time there. The exit looks a lot smoother, but he keeps swinging the car with as much power as he can. But look at that, 2.5 tenths up on his own fastest lap time as this flag has fallen. But with this lap time, Alexander Dimas could be on for a 140.8. That currently is good enough for a P5, given that the other drivers do not improve. But they will definitely improve, but so is Alexander Dimas. 2 corners left to go, braking into the bus stop chicane. And now final corner, the last run onto the start-finish straight. Did he improve more? How far up can he go? Alexander Dimas to P5.
Yeah, so we are 140.8 for Alexander Dimas. Only goes into 5th place for now. Let's see if anyone else can improve. Vio is going to go into 3rd place in the Kick Salvo, and that's going to be the end of his qualifying session as well. Of course, the final run for everyone out on track. Menno able to get a 41.1. That's going to be 15th place. We're seeing a few drivers are just unable to improve so far, as Bogdan just about manages to get into the 140s. Gabriel Pinto is going to go into 8th place as well.
Yeah, we're currently watching Exafox as he's up by a little over 2:10, so that is the lap that he's gunning for. That will be very close to potential pole position. Is it enough for Exafox to take the top step here? It is! It's a 140.5, improves by 2 tenths in the final sector, and the only man that can say something about it, Campbell Adams, just comes up short in that final lap, and Israel Piana still on the lap. He was, but he can only go to P17. It's a pole position for the man we predicted up front, but really needed to put it out of the hat, to get it out of the hat in that final run, and he does do so, and he's clear by 10.5. Pole position for Exafox.
Yeah, it's a very, very good lap time indeed. It's almost 2 tenths faster than what Campbell Adams was able to do down in 2nd position. But the rest of the grid, very, very tight indeed. We have a total of just over 4 tenths of a second separating the top 10, which is absolutely mad. This is lending itself to be a very, very close and exciting race.
It definitely is indeed, as we're currently making our way through the order. A great pole position for Exafox, but also great work by the likes of Lighty and Campbell Adams, who need to make sure that they keep themselves in touch with what else out there, as we'll be quickly changing over to the camera view. We will see the retirements coming into the game, as we're going to have a restart, and that also means that we are going to take a quick break before we're going to resume, so we will be right back. So we are then back after the short break, as we're waiting for all the drivers to retire and to get us back into the lobby. We'll have 18 drivers tonight, but the man who's starting on pole position is your championship leader, Exafox, already picking up an extra point as a result of that, meaning that he now has a 12-point lead in the championship, and that's before the start of the 3rd race. And that is quite an insane lead to have so early on, isn't it, Mackie?
Yeah, it really is, especially with PSGL's point system as well, which is 16 points down to 1 point. It gives you, he's almost got just, two races in a qualifying session. But of course, anything happens still in the race, there's every chance he retires, and the likes of Campbell Adams, or I can't actually remember who's in 2nd. I would need to bring the standings back up. But there's every chance if one of them gets the win, they could be straight back up to the top step.
They can very quickly turn things around, and we've seen last season as well with Exafox. There were some races where he could not fully perform to his potential, and that is the opportunity for everyone else to get closer, because we've seen throughout the last seasons that we've had here at F4, consistency pays off. Even if you are unavailable for one of the races, does not matter too much. As long as you are consistent enough, you will be up there in the championship fight. And ideally, the less races you miss, the more consistent you are, the more likely you are going to be crowned champion at the end of the season. For Exafox, is a good start so far, but there will be a couple of drivers having something to say about that, and I'll be very curious to see what Alexander Dimas is able to do. Currently 5th in the standings, was not available last week out, but we've mentioned just now, one race missing is not the end of the world, and I think Dimas could potentially go for a podium tonight, Mackie.
Yeah, I mean, he absolutely could. He qualified within the top 10, but of course, it doesn't matter really where you qualify around this track. It is a track where you can overtake. It's a track with plenty of DRS assistance, especially down the Kemmel Straight. It really lends itself to good racing. There's a lot, like I've already said, a lot of space to overtake into without pushing each other off the track. So I just feel like, doesn't matter where you've qualified in this race, anyone here is up with a chance of winning.
Definitely true. And now we've talked a little bit about the standings. Let's bring up the standings board once more so you guys can have a better look at the full standings here at F4 for PC. If we take a look at our standings, Exafox currently leading at 28 points, with that pole position now on 29 prior to the race here, round 3 at Spa. Second place is for Daniel Gottschalk with a 10th, and first place 17 points to his name, followed by Lighty, Campbell Adams, your best placed reserve driver, Alexander Dimas in 5th, then it's Theo, Bogdan Moldovan, Isaac Lead in P8 with also 8 points, Adam Schummer, who is not here tonight, sadly, because he's been having some internet issues, so he will not be moving up from there, likely be dropping down a little bit more, which is just a shame to see, because he has to miss out due to internet. Then 10th is for Jerne Dovzan, he's got 5 points, also one of the reserve drivers. Same goes for Chris Bertsinski, hope I said that right, 4 points for him and CZK. Then 3 points for Gabriel Pinto, 2 for Jay Candy and Danielle Farinelli, and the other drivers still scoreless, including Menno de Bever, who did finish in the points last week out in Coda, but after a post-race penalty, the only post-race penalty applied, he finished in P11 and is still scoreless for the season. Also, our season host for season 38, Mackie.
Yes, of course. So this current championship standings is really lending itself to be a good championship. Of course, it'd be really nice even today to see someone go up and challenge Exafox for that lead, try to bring that gap down, because honestly having that big of a gap this early in the season is such a feat to achieve in such close racing that it'd be nice to see some more competition up there. But yeah, I think right now this track is the one track everyone really has the opportunity to make a dent in the championship.
Yeah, we're currently just switching lobbies real quick because the driver host that we spoke of earlier, Menno de Bever, did disconnect from that session, so he had to set up a new one, which we're now getting into, and then we have a little bit of time to prepare ourselves. So in about 3 to 5 minutes, we'll be getting on our way with round 3 of the season, and it gives a little bit of time to take a look at the track map and give you a bit more information about the race circuit that's called Spa-Francorchamps. So here we have our track map then. Spa-Francorchamps, 7 kilometers, 4 meters, 4.352 miles, with a distance to turn 1, 271 meters. A medium downforce track with 2 DRS zones, one after turn 4, that is after Radillon, and after turn 19, that is after the bus stop chicane and leading up to the start-finish straight. You have a pit lane time loss of 17.4 seconds, rather short, but that is due to the fairly quick lead into the slow corner of the bus stop chicane that you get out to, and you can kind of cut Lassour's hairpin when you head out of the pit lane. It's also a track where a lot of incidents in the real F1 world have happened. Sadly, also some drivers passing away. It's recent. It's only 5 years ago with F2's Antoine Hubert. So sadly, a track that has proven time and time again how dangerous it is, even in this modern era, with the cars being also safe. Thankfully, here in the sim world, the only things that we have to worry about is to let go of our wheels when we have the steering settings enabled. If we don't break our wrist, that could be the worst thing happening to us. But let's hope that all the drivers keep that nice and tidy tonight as well, so they come through unscathed and that they can have a clean race all the way through. But with 18 drivers on this track, Mackie, it's usually bound for some incidents to happen here.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, my game has decided to crash, so I'm having to do a full reload right now, which is absolutely great. But yeah, it is definitely a track where, especially going up through Radion, it is incredibly dangerous. To the track organisers, they did make a small change to the barriers, I believe, at the top of the corner to try and stop cars bouncing back into the track, which is one of the biggest issues that it's had.
Yeah, that was also what caused that massive incident in 2019. But we've seen also going up, when you're going up Eau Rouge and Radion, if you go off there, you can also still bounce back on the track. So it's very, very dangerous. But adding gravel traps and stuff like that, it's very, very hard to change the track there. But you need to make sure that the cars don't get back on the track, because you're going pretty much blind up the hill. When you're driving 300 kilometers plus an hour, it's very, very hard to avoid anyone coming out there on the track, and especially with mixed conditions, which is not uncommon here in Belgium either, makes it even more difficult. But to be fair, if we do look back at how Spa entered the calendar back in, well, they've been driving here, I think, for well over 90 years. But the official F1 calendar, of course, starting in the 50s. But if we look at how the track looked back then, I've seen the likes of Jarno Opmeer driving in one of his private streams a couple of months back. But if you look at how the track was, my god, that was incredibly dangerous. And also a track that was more than 5 minutes long.
Yeah, it was incredibly long in its first iteration of the track. I'm kind of glad we got it down to its 7 kilometers that it is now. But yeah, it's very interesting how circuit design evolves through time to make things both safer and, honestly, more entertaining for the racers.
Yeah, let's not forget, this is not one of the iconic tracks that we have in Belgium. There is one other track that the F1 has raced in the past, the track of Zolder, the track where sadly Gilles Villeneuve lost his life back in, I believe it was the 80s, correct me if I'm wrong. But we haven't driven there, I believe, since the 90s, so I don't think most of our viewers will know about this track.
I mean, if you've ever watched any GT, I believe Zolder's still on the calendar for the World GT Challenge, or especially Europe anyway. And it's still a very nice track to drive on the games that allow you to do GT racing. So Belgium is just a huge place for motorsport with 2 absolutely brilliant tracks.
Yeah, for a small country like that, that is not too bad at all. But of course, the main track that we have here, the track that everyone does talk about, Spa-Francorchamps, that is the track that we drive at F1. And it looks like Menno is now asking us to ready up. So in about 2 minutes, we'll be fully loaded in and ready to go. 22 laps around Spa, and we still have to see what the weather is going to be like. The weather is set to dynamic, so as soon as we load in, we'll see what the weather will be like. Mackie, what are you hoping for?
I mean, honestly, it's a bit boring, but I do kind of want a dry race. It shows what I see as the pure pace of all the drivers, but I think a little bit of rain, especially towards the end, could spice the racing up just a little bit.
That would be very nice indeed. So let's hope that around the final 5 or 6 laps we do get to see a little bit of rain. But with this track, it's usually hit or miss. You either are going to have rain all the way through, or there will be no rain at all. And as the drivers are prepared to load in, we are going to find out about this shortly, namely within about 20 seconds from now, as then we'll be loaded in and the drivers will be going for setups. Now we're likely going to see one-stoppers, drivers starting on either mediums or hards. What is your experience with the drivers? What do you think the strategy will be?
Well, if I had to guess, just based on the other tracks as well on this game so far, I think it's most likely going to be the medium to hard strategy. But we could see some alternate strategy, especially the hard to medium come out, which again will really spice things up towards the end of the race. And Myth, it is looking incredibly sunny here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, it looks bone dry. Currently changing to the race screen so you can see it as well. There's not a cloud to be spotted, so I think we're going to have dry weather all the way round. And I don't see any comments in the Discord chat either, so I don't think there is at least a hint of rain even for tonight. So we'll just have 22 laps of clean weather racing. Let's hope that the drivers can keep it just as clean as the clouds are, as the skies are, for now at least.
Yeah, that would be amazing to just have a very clean race, but I fear going into turn one, someone's going to brake a little bit too late, trying to get past someone else off the start. They'll get some momentum, brake a bit too late into turn one. It's just might take more than one driver off the track.
Well, we're going to find out about that in a moment. As you already mentioned, likely going to see one stoppers, and here we go then. We're about to get underway with 3, 4, and 5 lines that we have. And they're out and we're on our way with a good start in the inside line for Exafox, but Campbell Adams is making sure that he can go around the outside, but good cover off from Exafox, who does break in late. Around the outside, we see a move trying to be made by Isaac Lee, but it looks like all the drivers came through nicely. Exafox already made a 4/10 of a gap. That is really, really nice, but further down the line, it looks like Kai is starting to get awfully close to his teammate, Isaac Lee, and Theo Bull's not too far away from that either, so we might see some overtakes down the Campbell Straight. But look at that, Campbell Adams has to defend a little bit as well. Leezy having a little cheeky look down the inside, but he's not making a move at all. But we see further down the line a late send by Lucas Beisner. Let's see if he did not get any damage there. A big slide from Bogdan Moldovan. And that is going to, well, just further up ahead, Gabriel Pinto trying to make a move onto Giovinazzi, but he's sent back down the order. Lucas Beisner overtaking him, and Dimas now moves up into P6 with Dennis Langrock dropping down the order after a poor Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And further down the grid, of course, got Daniel Gottschalk, who's making a little bit of progress. Saw him make a move on the exit of Radion, which felt like a move that maybe on the first lap he shouldn't be making, but he made it work. Down the Camel Straight, was able to secure that position up into 7th place. We've got more happening up and down the grid. Everyone's very close to each other now, just trying to wait for a mistake to happen in front of them, or they're going to send it. Probably the next opportunity to send it's probably going to be down at the bus stop chicane. So we'll be watching that heavily. Looks like Giovinazzi's going for a move on the kick. Sauber ahead, hasn't quite made it, but they are side by side, and he has made it. No, he's not made it. I just think someone just desynced, but going to bus stop now, and someone's round. That's the Williams of Giovinazzi. Almost went sideways, managed to stay on the track, and on the exit of turn 19 there, everyone got a little bit off the track, but everyone has survived lap 1.
Yeah, much more contact with Giovinazzi, and it looked like there was some damage for Alessandro Finn further down the line through Lafagna. Around turn 12, we saw some bodywork flying off, and that was missing front wing end plate for the Ferrari driver, as now MG12 has been demoted to the final position. Let's see if he has any damage on that Aston. But yeah, he's also missing a front wing end plate, so 2 drivers currently having a little bit of damage. But look at that! Oh! Big crash! Big moment as Lucas Beisner comes together with Gabriel Pinto. That is a massive incident. I think the drivers got off fairly well. Lucas, well, he's lost both of his front wing end plates. He'll definitely be coming into the pits. The same can be said about Gabriel Pinto, but that could have gone much worse.
It could have done. The way the cars were angled heading towards the wall, I was convinced someone was going to be retiring from the race just there, and that we were going to end up with our first safety car of the Grand Prix. But it's looking like everyone has made it out in, well, more than one piece, but enough to make it round to the pit lane for a front wing change.
There was just not enough space there with 3 cars coming in together and trying to break for the corner. A bit of a sandwich happening there, so not much that Beisner could do about that. But it does mean that his race is not going the way he wanted. He already dropped down 4 positions after having a good initial start, but now we'll have to start again from the back of the grid, as in the meantime Campbell Adams has taken over the race lead from Exafox, as Alexander Dimas is also slowly making his way up the order. Currently finds himself in P5, but the fastest lap time for now is for Kai, as we see Isaac Leet pulling out a little bit to try have a look on light. But let's now go on board with the Red Bull driver, because he's starting to close in onto Lighty up ahead, as we have yellow in sector 3, and that is Lucas Beisner retiring. He will retire in the pit lane. Gabriel Pinto has also decided to make a pit stop to have that front wing change, but looks like Lucas Beisner, despite being ahead of Gabriel, does not feel that he can do much about that, as in the meantime Exafox has taken over the race lead. See a little bit of debris flying there as well, and Lighty has made his way up around the outside. Isaac Lead is trying to get past Campbell Adams. He's still on the outside through Rivage. Can he now stick it on the inside? I don't think he quite can. He's still going to keep it through Speaker's corner very closely together. They keep it both on the track, and it's move complete. And now Alexander Dimas wants to go 1, but not 2. And this is a safer move, and Dimas is now up in P4. So much action already here in lap 3, and we've still got so much left to go.
Yeah, of course, the opening laps of this race have been very entertaining indeed. Alexander Dimas now up into 4th place after what, again, I'm going to say a very brave move there to go for that. And almost went for the double overtake as well on Isaac Leet, which caused him to go a little bit more defensive, losing a lot of time to Lighty ahead.
We currently still have our top 13 within DRS window, although Menno de Bevo is starting to fall outside of that window, and it looks like he has fallen outside of that. So it's just a top 12 with Bogdan Moldovan actually really close to Dennis Langrock up ahead, as Dennis is trying to cover him off, and Bogdan has to make sure that he doesn't drive into the back of that Red Bull of Daniel. But it looks like Dennis Langrock has made a little bit of a mistake on the exit there on the bus stop that did move Bogdan past for just a slight moment, as Bogdan now wants to try and go around the outside on Lasurs. That's a little bit too much, but he indeed can't get the move done quite there yet. Isaac Leet still finds himself in P3. The gaps have increased quite a little bit up front, but Kai and Daniel Gottschalk, they are close together, but that is because Daniel had just overtaken Daniel Gottschalk. He is on the inside, but actually needs to let 2 drivers go as Giovinazzi and Theo Bulls barge through.
Yeah, Kai struggling a little bit there in the McLaren to find any pace in this race so far. He just keeps getting caught at unfortunate times there, especially down the Kemmel Straight. You saw him get overtaken going to turn 7 with 2 drivers ahead. It was best to let them go though and not lose the car, trying to go 3 wide through those. We've already seen that lead to disaster today. So Lighty now challenging for the lead, just half a second behind Exafox. They're sort of racing their own thing right now. Isaac Leet 7/10 behind. He's really trying to cover off from Alexander Dimas, who sits in 4th. Campbell Adams is still able to hold on to 5th place right now, but I think things are going to change in the next couple of laps and as we head further towards that pit stop window.
Yeah, and the gaps are actually a little bit bigger than I was anticipating before. Of course, we still have our top 13 within a DRS window of one another, but where you normally expect the gaps to be about 2, 3, maybe 4/10s. 4/10s is rather the exclusion than one of the standards that we see, as we now see Gottschalk inching closer to Campbell Adams up ahead, who's also dropped down 3 positions despite being in the lead just 2 laps ago. Daniel Gottschalk has already moved up 5 positions up the order. In the meantime, let's take a look at the tires to see what strategies the guys are on, and it looks like everyone has started on the hard set of compounds. Gabriel Pinto, of course, already came into the pit. He has switched to the medium, so we'll be having to make a pit stop later down the line. But everyone here going for a hard medium strategy, and that seems to be the quickest way around.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of expecting it to be the other way around, because obviously on the launch, on the start, you kind of want a little bit more grip that those mediums could have provided. But of course, I trust the drivers know what they're doing, and with everyone being on the same strategy, this means this race is going to really come down to the pure racing.
It will come down to the pure racing, and a pure racer at heart here is Campbell Adams. He's starting to get closer to Alexander Dimas up ahead, and he will not be happy with the positions lost earlier on, although the turns through Pouhon, the first Pouhon was a little bit shaky for Campbell, but does get a lot closer through Lafanya. As we see up ahead, Alexander Dimas is sliding there a little bit. Lock up from the man in second, as Campbell Adams has now moved himself up within about 3/10 of Dimas. Dimas himself is also within 3/10 of Isaac Leet. So let's see if they're able to draw anywhere near, because it looks like Campbell Adams is catching a nice slipstream here onto Dimas. Gap now coming down to just under 3/10. It's still too far away to make a send here, but he does manage to break his way and inch his way closer to the back of that Red Bull, who also had a little moment coming out of that second bus stop chicane. But the gap's still too big for Campbell Adams to make a move, but just one slight mistake from Dimas up ahead, which he almost made there through Lasurs, and I could send Campbell Adams flying past him.
And of course, what you're also going to think about, Dimas is doing the same thing. He's looking for a mistake from Isaac Leet in front to make a move. It's looking like potentially Isaac Leet has a more straight line setup going on, which
There's
means he's able to
Campbell.
catch that slipstream ahead of him better, but it's looking like they're potentially going to go too wide now, going into the chicane. Is it going to be close? It's very close indeed. He hits the inside of the curb, does Dimas. He's able to defend his position from the Williams behind, and in fact gave some time on Isaac Leet as well, as he tried to make a move on Exafox, which failed.
Yeah, Isaac Lead was not able to make that move on Exafox, but we do see Lighty in the race lead now here in lap 6, where we've had one incident that we saw earlier on with Gabriel Pinto and Lucas Bison. We saw one driver going very wide onto the left. I think, was that Kai or Teal? I'm not
That was
entirely
Tio, yeah, Tio.
It was Teal, yeah. I saw a car just dive left all the way all of a sudden, but thankfully no incident that occurred there. But it does mean that the gap from Kai to the rest of the pack has increased a little bit, and it means that your top 7 is now within a window of one another, as Giovinazzi is getting awfully close to the back of Daniel Gottschalk, your race winner last time out when we were at the Circuit of the Americas. But we see that he's losing a little bit of time when he comes down the long straight, so I think his car is set up more for the corners, and we can see how nicely he can brake onto the back of that Mercedes and getting a little bit of a better exit as he does there. We're now heading into lap 7, but he will have to wait a little bit longer. But I think the next driver that will go for a pass will be Exafox down the Camel Straight, as he's now very close to the back of Lighty up ahead.
He's just got to stay back here, going through Eau Rouge up into Radion. And it's just going to be a bit of a waiting game now. Isaac Leach right there as well, just 2 tenths behind DRS on all of these cars. Exafox going to slingshot past, but what is Isaac Leach going to be able to do here? Of course, Lighty's already used the defensive move and go down the inside. That's going to be Isaac Leach moving into second, Lighty down into third.
Yeah, Lighty back race started, so is Exafox, as Isaac Lead has now moved up 3 positions. So it seemed like he was struggling a bit a few laps ago. He did manage to put a good lap 6 in, and that means that in lap 7 you can go for the overtake, and Lighty has been seen and moved back from first to third, and he is now under severe pressure by Alexander Dimas. Look at that, Dimas almost touching the rear end of that Alpine. Is he gonna go for a move here? He's actually still opting to stay behind, but if he gets just a little bit of a better exit through Lafayette, he could be able to make his way around at the bus stop chicane, or maybe even a little bit earlier at Blanchimont. The gap has increased slightly, but still under 2 tenths it is. Dimas, will he use a little bit of overtake? It looks like he is using some by judging the steering wheel, but he's losing a little bit of time to Lighty up ahead, with Campbell Adams not getting too much closer either. So I think Dimas will be waiting for it a little bit, just be here nice and tight in that queue. But we'll see more and more moves made at the top of the field, and I think Isaac Lead will be the next in line to drive a lap in the race lead.
Absolutely, this DRS is once again going to be switching back and forth throughout this race as they all take advantage of it. Of course, you don't want to lose any race time by trying to stay behind for too long. You've got a DRS zone which comes straight after each other without a detection point, which we don't have on this circuit, thankfully. So just going to have to wait and see now what Isaac Leet does. He's got that DRS open. Is he going to go for the lead of the Grand Prix? I think he is. He goes side by side now as we head back into turn 7. It's going to be ahead there for Isaac Leet. Exafox down to second, but holds off Lighty, who was defending from Dimas. Dimas just not quite able to make the progress through the grid.
Oh, there is.
He would have wanted, maybe does go down the inside now. It's going to be wheel to wheel now. To go down the inside, down the hill. What's going to happen now is Dimas has to go to the outside. He tries to switch back, but he doesn't quite have enough room as he loses the rear end slightly. He's going to be stuck in 4th position as we head towards Pouon now. Is he going to be able to make the move here? No, I don't think he is. He's got to now worry about Campbell Adams behind.
Has to worry about the driver behind now, indeed, but it does show that Dimas has a little bit more pace than the driver up ahead. And where Exafox seemed to be out so quick, he really has to look in his rearview mirrors but now, because Isaac Lead is starting to pull away a little bit, and Exafox feeling the hot breath from Lighty and all the drivers coming behind, as Giovinazzi is actually so close to Daniel Gottschalk as well, but he's going to lose a little bit of time here on the back straight, as we mentioned, he seems to have the car set up a little bit more for downforce in comparison to high speed. So he'll be braking his way closer, with Daniel Farinelli actually trying to go for the overtake onto Bogdan Moldovan, but Bogdan still sticks it down the inside now. Side by side they go. sure if there's any damage. I don't think there is. And it is Daniel Farinelli who has to slot in behind. But round the inside comes Theo Bulls. Is it enough to go for a move? They do go side by side. They leave each other a little bit of space. And it will be, a big moment for Theo, who just manages to keep it out of the wall.
Yeah, it's going to be Langrock going round as well. It's unfortunate there for Theo. He'll be looking to get that position back. He's currently down in 12th place, looking to get back into the point as Lighty, a bit too far back there to make the move on X-Fox. Going to turn 7 once again. It's a favourite overtaking spot here as far Frankenstein. They're around the outside. It's a late defensive move from... from Lighty. Had to sneeze there and it disappeared. That was an interesting experience. But Alexander Dimas really trying to make the move now into Puon. Lighty's really putting the car in all the right places right now, making that car as wide as he possibly can. Looking like Dimas is the faster car right now, but can't find a way around just yet. Can't get around the Alpine. The Red Bull stuck behind the Alpines. Will continue to go through on lap 9 of 22. Will he be able to make the move here? It's a little bit of an exit mistake there from Lighty. And looks like that might be forced by X-Fox in front as everyone is really bunched back together. Isaac Lee really controlling the pace of this race right now. We just wait now. Will Alexander Dimas be able to make the move going down here? No, he's not. He's actually being challenged from behind by Campbell Adams, who tries to get around the outside. Doesn't quite work. He's going to have the outside line through bus stop chicane. It's too wide then for second and third place to head on to the main start finish straight now. Will Dimas be able to open DRS and make the move? No, he won't. Some very good racing there from all our drivers.
There's a little bit of front wing touching rear wing there, but it looks like no damage has been made. But a little bit of an outbreak for Light, who goes a little bit too wide through La Source, and that does mean that Dimas is going to get much closer. But we saw that Dimas used a little bit of the ERS down towards Blanchimont, and that made him awfully close to the back of Lighty, but he did decide to hold off. But there he goes again. He has more ERS usage. He will be from the outside onto the inside, the better line, and Dimas is finally through. Almost a big moment there. They're still side by side. Where we thought the battle was done, it is not, because now round the inside is Lighty. Pushes Dimas all the way round, but Dimas still has the inside. First Speaker's Corner is going to stay there. Side by side they go. They need to leave each other space. They leave each other space, but it is a better exit for Dimas. And finally, the Red Bull driver completes his move into third.
However, in completing that move, he's lost a lot of time to X-Fox in front. He's now got to gain back. As long as he can stay within a second, he should be able to do that in the next DRS zone. But he's now also got to worry about the fact he's got an entire train behind him, all wanting that position. But hopefully for Dimas, Lighty will get challenged by Adams. And won't have to worry about it as much as he just was. In fact, he has started to build a noticeable gap compared to what Lighty has to Campbell Adams. So, yes, it's looking good. But Isaac Lee really taking full advantage. He's sort of driving on the road. He's 8 tenths up the road, but they have just gone through a DRS detection zone. So it should come back down.
Yeah, and if I'm currently starting to look at the track, it looks like up ahead we see a lot more clouds. Now that sky was fully clear 11 laps ago, but now halfway distance we see a lot more grey clouds starting to appear around and above the track. The only big question is, do those clouds hold any water? Will we see some rain coming through in the final stages of the race, or will we keep it dry all the way through? As in the meantime, X-Fox is making his way around the outside of Isaac Lead. He retakes that race lead, but look at the gap that they've managed to pull to Alexander Dimas. It does look like the two drivers up ahead are a little bit quicker than anyone else. Then comes Dimas, and then the rest of the pack. But now Daniel Farinelli also dispatching Kai, who has been dropping down the order a little bit more as well. Now that gap from him to Giovinazzi was a little over 2 seconds, and he's now lost 2 positions to both Bogdan Moldovan and also to Daniel Farinelli. But yeah, that gap there up ahead means that if you're in 8th place, you will be a sitting duck for the drivers behind, and on this long straight, the long gamble straight, you'll lose either 1 or 2 positions.
Yeah, we've essentially got 2 DRS trains right now, which is the one with X-Fox down to Giovinazzi, and then it's going to be Bogdan Moldovan down to Theo Bornez down in 13th place. But the racing is still going very heavily, but we're now about halfway through this race, which means the pit window is only going to be a couple of laps away.
And should indeed not be too far away, as you mentioned. We are now past half race distance, with the drivers almost making their way round. And there we go, 2 drivers heading into the pits. That's Exafox and Campbell Adams moving in. That is very early, but more drivers are following them. Bogdan Moldovan has gone in, Dennis Langrock has gone in, and Joao Piana also went into the pit lane. So 5 drivers out of the 17 still in contention make their pit stop now. The driver coming out first, seemingly, is Exafox, but he was also the lead car heading into the pit lane, but I think he's managed to pull a little bit of a gap onto Campbell Adams. Means he's in free air, and with not having to worry about Campbell being close enough to him, he's about 2 seconds away, means that Exafox won't have to worry about Campbell for the time being. This does mean, though, that with this early pit stop, he's going to force the other drivers to make a pit stop between now and the next lap. So we should see more drivers head into that pit lane in a moment's notice.
Yeah, and of course, I think what Exafox specifically is trying to do, he's trying to use the undercut potentially to build enough gap on everyone else's pit exit that you won't have to worry about DRS behind and be able to lead the race for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, we saw the drivers in F3 doing that as a result of a virtual safety car. An early pit stop gave them a big lead, and that was a gap that the other drivers could not overcome. And with enough pace, Exafox might be able to quite do the same there, because look at that. The gap to the drivers up ahead is already under 11 seconds, but Campbell Adams really pushing out there on track, already half a second quicker than Exafox is on his current lap, even though he is taking significant chunks out of that gap up ahead. But let's see now as we go on board with, well, not on board, but with the camera onto Isaac Lee. He comes in, the drivers behind him all follow, so the top 5 goes into the pit lane. Then it's Kai next. He will continue because Isaac, his teammate, is into the pit lane, so he has to go for the offset strategy, but that will hurt his chances because there was already a big gap. And with now coming into the pit later, he will likely find himself in no worse land later on too. But here then, Exafox still in the lead. The gap to Campbell Adams, 1.4 seconds. That is big enough. But where is everyone else going to be coming out in comparison to them? It looks like they're actually going to slot in nicely between. And yeah, look at that. Campbell Adams has to concede plays onto Isaac Lead. And the gap where we were hoping that Exafox, at least Exafox was hoping to get a substantial lead. The gap, only 1.2 seconds. And Campbell Adams will now get the DRS. He's going to get past Isaac Lead. And that means that the advantage that Exafox was hoping for with that undercut has already been undone.
Yeah, it has. It's now under a second to Campbell Adams, who has got full advantage now on Exafox, and those behind now within this DRS train, which of course they were hoping to break. With those 1 lap newer tyres, might on the last couple of laps of this Grand Prix just be able to potentially go for the lead of the Grand Prix.
As we're currently moved back further down the line, a fight is starting to emerge for P11 as well. Tailbones currently holding that, but Menno de Bever, Daniel Farinelli, and Joao Piana are getting very close to the back of that Kick Sauber. And I think down the Camel Straight on the next lap, we will see some overtakes happen, but further up ahead, we should see more action as Alexander Dimas had to give up 1 position now, finds himself back in P4, but that gap to Isaac Lead is slowly shrinking. Campbell Adams is 7/10 away from Exafox. Isaac Lead almost a second away from Campbell. Kai now coming into the pits, and Dimas 4/10 away from Isaac Lead up ahead. But if Isaac loses just more than a 10th, he will be out of the DRS window. He will now get DRS on the start-finish straight. Was he still within that window? He does have DRS open, so it's still well in line for that. As Campbell Adams currently sets the fastest lap time, he's close enough to Exafox, and it looks like we might have 6 drivers here fighting for the race win. So that's Exafox, Campbell Adams, Isaac Lead, Alexander Dimas, Lighty, and Daniel Gottschalk.
Indeed, this could, by the end of the race, be a very, very close battle for the lead, and of course those valuable 16 points towards the championship. Exafox would love to have them to extend his leads. Alexander Dimas gets past Isaac Lead, as Isaac Lead, I don't think was quite expecting that, broke a little bit later but just couldn't quite find a way around, almost rear-ended the Red Bull driver, but has managed to keep it on track as Alexander Dimas tries and closes that gap down, which have got, like you said, to almost a second, which put them outside DRS range and created yet another train on this circuit. Daniel Gottschalk as well down in 6th place. He's trying to make some positions up. He's going for 5th place. He's within 3 attempts the car in front, but I don't know if it's going to be enough without any DRS assistance. But yeah, as you've been saying, this could be a very, very close race for the lead.
Yeah, we see now that Kai finds himself back in P11 behind quite a few drivers that he was previously ahead of, and with the gap that Theo has to Dennis Langrock in 9th is not boding well for him either. Although Kai is still provisionally in P10, as Theo has a 3-second time penalty to his name, with Gabriel Pinto also heading 3 seconds to his name. Let's see what the full penalties are for a time being. Gabriel actually already had a 3-second. He's now on 6, with 4 drivers with 3 seconds for track limits on their name. Those are Alessandro Finn, P17, MG12 in P15, Joao Piana in P13, and in P10, Theo Bones, also 3 seconds to his name. Now all the drivers are out on the mediums. Everyone's on mediums on the track. MG12 and Gabriel Pinto will still make a pit stop later on, because I don't think those tires are going to hold. But as it looks now, Alexander Dimas dangerously close to Campbell Adams up ahead, but I think with both drivers DRS that won't matter too much. But Daniel Gottschalk on the other end, very close to Lighty, gonna make a move down the inside, is going to brake very late. That move down into 4 is a little bit better, and he will now be on the inside of Malmedy, and Daniel Gottschalk completes that move onto P5, heavy defending into Brussels or Rivage. He stays ahead of the Alpine driver.
Very good move indeed. Well defended though from Lighty, or an attempted defense anyway. But it looks like Daniel Gottschalk has found some pace on his medium tyres and is now challenging Isaac Leet as well for 4th position. So we see Dimas is right on the rear end of Campbell Adams, is trying to find a way past, but once again, this track, while you can overtake, it can be very difficult through these sections, just purely down to the fact you don't want to compromise the downforce from your car.
Do not want to compromise that whatsoever, as in the meantime, if you look further down the order, the gap from Giovinazzi onto Lighty, that is 2 seconds. That seems too big to overcome. Kai has actually taken quite a good chunk out of the gap to Dennis Langrock. That was last lap 2.3 seconds when Theo Bones was still in P10. The gap now down to 1.5, so if they can toss around positions a little bit, maybe they'll be able to get back in that DRS window, and that would be good news for Kai, who I think does have the pace to at least finish in P7 tonight. But let's now hop on board with Alexander Dimas. Finds himself in P3. Kai set the fastest lap time, the man that we were just talking about. But Dimas will want to get closer to Campbell Adams as we make our way through first Eau Rouge and then up through Radillon. How close can he get? Will he use some overtake, or will he decide against it? It looks like he's not using any of his overtake for a time being, so that gap stays about 3/10. Campbell Adams is getting closer to Exafox up ahead, but he decides to stay behind. It is not the right time to make the move just yet. Theo Bones has actually made the move back onto Kai, but that is what we were talking about. They'll be switching positions a little bit, trying to get closer to Dennis Langrock up ahead. The gap now down to 1.2. Maybe at the end of this lap, Mackie, we should see them join in with a DRS train up into P7, now held by Bogdan Moldovan.
Yeah, there's every chance there that that train for the midfield is gonna expand itself, as long as Theo isn't being challenged too much by Kai. It's in kind of both their best interests to not challenge each other too hard and let them catch up and then start challenging each other. But it looks like Kai might just be going for it anyway. But as we continue to see it, Dimas, I think, has a lot more pace in the corners right now. He's got a higher downforce setup, which means he is losing time on those straights without any ERS dumping. But he's also just not quite able to find the correct position to be able to go around without compromising his line, and therefore the amount of downforce the car is providing without losing too much time.
Yeah, and contrary to that, Theo is getting closer to the back of Dennis Langrock. Gained almost a 10th there on the long back straight. The gap now 1.1 as they break into the bus stop. That's a good outbreak. He almost gets close enough to open that DRS window and open that rear wing, but he's just not in there quite yet. As likely in the next lap, it will be Kai, who I think will be within that 1 second margin of the drivers up ahead. We'll quickly go to the top of the field as they are already up at the Camel Straight. Behind Dimas, Isaac Lead is actually getting awfully close. He's using a little bit of ERS. Kai now getting a 3-second time penalty. There's the move down the inside for Dimas. That's an awfully late break. He just keeps on track. There's contact. There's contact with Dimas, and the rear bump from Lighty that cost him his front wing. That was a little bit too late of a braking by Dimas, and when he came back on the track, there was contact. But I think the only one he's got to blame for there is himself.
Yeah, Dimas made a little bit of a late braking move there. He went very, very deep through turn 7. And that's compromised his lap. And some people behind him is Lighty. He has a damaged front wing. That's just damaged Giovinazzi's front wing as well. A huge... No, okay, no. Everyone's still on the track. I think everyone just sort of desynced back onto the track. But I thought that was going to be a huge collision there down in the midfield. But this has really spiced the race up a little bit. We see Dimas down in 5th place after he's just almost got into 2nd place. And then, carry on.
Oh, Theo has got a penalty for corner cutting, but I saw a driver go off. Was that Giovinazzi who went off? Giovinazzi went off there indeed. I thought that was going to be a big crash once again, but I think we've already seen 3 moments today, Mackie, where I thought it was going to be a safety car, but the drivers kept it on track. That's quite extraordinary.
It is. We've seen so many moments already where...
What was this?
Oh, I've seen a lot of people dropping down the order. What's just happened?
Well, Lighty wanted to drive it into the pit lane, but Daniele Farinelli decided, I want to go round the outside of you. So Lighty was going for a pit lane, but Daniele still wanted to steer in because he wanted to stay on the track. So now Lighty has to do another lap with a broken front wing. He'll be out of it. Theo and Giovinazzi have retired from the session, but that is just heartbreak for Lighty, who's done quite well so far this season, is 3rd in the standings, had a pretty decent quali lap as well. But with this damage, yeah, there is no way that he'll be finishing inside the points. So that's a very sad ending for him. And further up ahead, with all that chaos that ensued, we now have Campbell Adams in the race lead. Exafox still in 2nd. Isaac Lead very close to them. But I think we're going to have a 3-man fight there, because the gap to Gottschalk in 4th is 1.5.
Gottschalk's going to have to really, really fight if he wants to catch back up into this DRS train, which unfortunately he was taken out of after Dimas, of course, did go very deep through turn 7, which caused this entire, I'm going to say, caused the entire cascade of events to happen. So yeah, it's going to be a three-way battle for the lead, but Gottschalk is gaining. It is slow, but he is gaining.
It is slow, but he is gaining by about a 10th now as they're making their way through Blanchimont once more. Campbell Adams still leading there, and the gap to Gottschalk 1.5 now, as Kai is actually getting an awful lot closer to Dimas up ahead. Does Dimas actually have damage? I don't think Dimas has damage after the moment that he's had, but did lose quite a few positions there, as Lighty now has penalty for track limits. Well, this weekend can get anywhere, as I don't know, but definitely not what he was hoping for, and I think he's going to retire in the pit lane in a moment's notice. Dimas now will feel the pressure from Kai behind, because Kai is going to get some DRS action down the Camel Straight, and with the gap being 6/10, that will be just enough, or just not enough, for Dennis Langrock behind on Bogdan Moldovan. That will be enough, but here we're going to see Lighty gets a penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well. He has retired from the session. Kai now is starting to get closer to Dimas, but it will not be enough. On the other hand, Dennis Langrock will get closer to Bogdan Moldovan, but he decides to just break it out and not go for the move there. Could say that's a not move, but it also makes a lot of sense, considering that he knows 2.7 seconds to Kai. That is not something I'll be able to do. Let's just stay behind, make the move on the final lap, and take home a P7.
Yeah, of course. And then we also got at the front, X-Fox now back in the lead to Grand Prix after they switch around in the DRS. But Isaac Lee almost went for the move, but got cut off last minute by Campbell Adams, which... you know, for the McLaren driver, it's going to be slightly frustrated, but he's still got 4 laps left to try and make the move for the lead of the Grand Prix. But it's still looking good for Exafox right now. He's in all the right positions to be able to go for the lead and extend that championship lead that he also has.
Yeah, but here comes Isaac Lead already, getting dangerously close to the back of that Williams, even through Blanchimont. Is he going to make a move in the bus stop chicane, or is he going to hold off for now? He is close enough to try and make a move. He does have a look down the inside, but decides not to outbrake the Williams driver up ahead. Will try to position himself nicely, because he does know that if he can get close enough here, the run up the Camel Straight, he could go from 3rd to 1st, as we have a big moment from Exafox in Lassour's hairpin. That will compromise his exit, and that surely means that he's going to lose 1st place here on lap 20 onto Campbell Adams, and it might be another position loss onto Isaac Lee. But here we go, lap 20. 2 more laps to go after this, as they're now getting closer to him. Campbell Adams will move to the outside. XFox just going to let him overtake. Isaac Lead will come by at the end. Ooh, Campbell Adams almost outbraking himself, but Isaac Lead decides to stay behind for now. The clouds are getting more intense as well. I'm not sure if you're going to see any last-minute rain, but I think we're just going to keep it dry for the end of this race. But the fight between these 3 is definitely on.
There was a bit of a moment there for Daniel Farinelli there for 11th position. Went a bit deep. It appears to have lost the rear end. Those tyres gone on the car. He didn't pit specifically early, did he? No, he's on 7-lap old medium tyres. Not sure what's going on with that car right now, but it does appear to be all over the place.
Well, the good news for him that despite he is now in P11, driver up ahead, Menno de Bever has a penalty. Joao has one as well, but that's only 3 seconds. That is actually now right about the cusp of where Daniel is. So Daniel should be on for P10 or P9 after those penalties have been applied. So pushing that car a little bit more, keeping it on track nicely though, will help out huge for him. Kai in 5th place also has a 3-second penalty. That will only drop him 1 behind Dimas. So there's not much that he can lose here tonight. They can still, of course, overtake Gottschalk. So we have a 3-way fight for 4th place and we have a 3-way fight for 1st. But of course, the main fight that we will want to see is a fight for the race lead. So we're going to go back to Campbell Adams as he's going down the hill to Rouge Radioff for the 21st time. After this, there's just one more time we're going to do this, and Isaac leads all over the back of XFox. He wants to make a move here. He wants to try and get into 2nd or even a race lead. They go 3 men wide on the Camel Straight. Round the outside, Isaac Lead wanted to go, but XFox keeps it tight there. It's a good place for Isaac to be in for that final run, but for now, XFox leads the race in lap 21.
Yeah, Isaac Leet has to be very careful of Campbell Adams behind right now as they continue through Sector 2 now, just trying to keep it nice and tidy. We're on a penultimate lap, this 22-lap Grand Prix here at Spa-Francorchamps, and so we're just going to have to wait now. Will Isaac Leet be able to take the win, or will XFox just be able to defend down the Kemmel Straight, which I think is where it's going to be make or break for all of these drivers. Campbell Adams just needs to stick to the back of them as well, and he's still in with a chance. But for 4th place, Kai's up there, but with a 3-second tyre penalty, Gottschalk is effectively in 4th position for Alexander Dimas behind, but he'd like to be even higher than that after making that mistake just a few laps ago.
Here we're now seeing them make their way around Blanchimont, trying to gear up for that final lap here. Will it be XFox? Will it be Isaac Lead? Or will it be Campbell Adams taking on the race win? Only XFox out of these 3 has won a race this season. Campbell Adams has come close on one occasion, and Isaac Lead has made it to a 4th place before. Let us know in the chat who you think is going to get the race win. We are now in our final lap. This is lap 22.
It is indeed. So going to La Source now. It's a little bit deep there for Isaac Leet, but he's managed to maintain a position. He's within 4 attempts now of XFox. They head towards Eau Rouge and Radion. They're going to go up to the top of it. Isaac Leet is gaining. I think he's got a little bit of a slipstream help there as he's probably dumping his battery. He's got 30% left in it as he goes round the outside now. He's going to go into leave the Grand Prix. What can Campbell Adams do here? He's going for it. He's going to move into 2nd place. He brakes very late. Tries to go down the inside, but Isaac Leet is already there to cover it off. And the lead now belongs to the McLaren driver Isaac Leet as Campbell Adams is having to mount an insane defense here to counter XFox.
Yeah, and as a result, XFox has gotten a 3-second time penalty for track limits. That does move him out of contention. That means he's going to drop down the order by at least 1, but potentially 2 more positions there, as Isaac Lead has managed to pull away. Isaac Lead now has a 6-10 gap onto Campbell Adams, and that seems unsurmountable at this point, but there's still some time to get closer. But if you have enough battery, Campbell, you might be able to make a move still the bus up chicane, and it looks like he has about 50% safe. Isaac Lead actually has more, so I don't think that Campbell Adams will get close enough to still make an overtake happen here. We're still going to try and check if he can do it. The gap's still 6/10. It's coming down ever so slightly, but I don't think it will be enough. And it looks like Isaac Lead is on his way to get his first race win of the season. XFox is still in P3, but is going to lose some positions due to that penalty. But tonight, it is good news for McLaren. A little moment perhaps at the end, but it is enough to take it. Campbell Adams actually made it down. It's Isaac Lead who gets the race win. Gottschalk still finishes in P2 after a big moment by Campbell Adams. He finishes in P5, I think with a penalty as well. Dimas still in 4th, and Exafox holds on to his podium in quite magic fashion.
Yeah, that was an absolutely insane end to the race. Gottschalk coming out of absolutely nowhere to pick up that second position. And for the two drivers in front, Isaac Leet and Daniel Gottschalk, it's both what they need to eat into Exafox's lead in the championship. But with Exafox to finish ahead of Dimas, it is still all to play for in the coming races.
Yeah, we just got a note in the chat saying that Campbell's game froze in the final corner. That freeze cost him 3 places. He would have been in P2. He was in P2, and even despite the penalty, whatever Exafox was going to do, it was not going to matter. But that freeze not only sent him back a little bit, it also gave him a 3-second time penalty, means that he's also dropped behind Exafox, who's had the penalty, and Alexander Dimas, who was a couple of seconds down the line. But one driver who that doesn't matter for at all is Isaac Lead, as he picks up the race win here, meaning that in 3 races, we've had 3 different race winners. But the driver still in the lead of the championship, starting in P1 in the first race, ending up in 2nd in the second race, and now in race 3, comes home in 3rd. That is Exafox.
That's going to be 3 podiums then after 3 races. That's an incredible run, all things considered, and has the point for the pole position on this race as well, which is going to really help with that championship lead. And who got the fastest lap in the end? Do we know?
Gabriel Pinto got a fast lap. I'm quickly going to change back. Was a little bit too happy to change over to the camera view, but here we have the full results. Isaac Lead gets the race win. Daniel Gottschalk 2nd from P11 on the grid. Then it's Exafox, followed by Alexander Dimas, Campbell Adams in 5th. Kai, Dennis Langrock, Bogdan Moldovan, Daniel Farinelli, and Joao Piana picking up that final point ahead of Menno de Bever in P11. Then it's MG12 in 12th place, quite fitting for his name. Then Alessandro Finn, Gabriel Pinto, and then DNFs for Lighty, Theo Bulls, Giovinazzi, that is Giovanni Lanzoni, and finally Lucas Beisner, who also DNF'd earlier on. Daniel Gottschalk quickly asked if Exafox was able to remove the penalty, but he says no. So that means likely that our top 3 is going to stay intact as a result. Now we can go to our camera.
Well, yeah, it was a lot of stuff happening in those final few laps. Dimas, I'm gonna have to say, I think it was a little bit self-inflicted, ending up that far down the order in the end. Just unfortunate there, just broke a little bit too late. I think maybe the slipstream just encouraged him to just keep going. He just didn't break at quite the right point. It's just very unfortunate there for Alexander Dimas. Campbell as well, right at the end there, just very, very unfortunate for your game to freeze right at the end. It, ends up down in 5th place after pretty much being in the top 3 for the entirety of the Grand Prix. It's just gonna not feel so good. But yeah, that was a very good result overall, especially for Gottschalk, who was further down and now up into 2nd place. That's going to really help his points total. So I'll just have a quick look, see where people would theoretically end up.
Yeah, well, Gottschalk was 2nd in the standings. I think he's still going to stay there because a race win for Isaac Lead. He was on 8 with 16 points. He'll be on 24, but Gottschalk is going to pick up another 10, so that means he moves from 17 to 27. And Exafox is going to pick up 11, 10th for 3rd place, and 1 for the pole position. So he's going to be 10 points ahead of Gottschalk if the provisional results stay as they are. But yeah, Dimas does say to Exafox that he ruined him and Relighty's race because he is wondering if Exafox saw him there. We saw them go side by side. It's hard to say whether that was XFox's fault or if it was indeed Dimas with braking too late. We would have to see a replay of that before we can make a fair judgment. But on first assessment, seeing it live, I think Dimas went in very, very late, manages to just keep it on the track, and I think XFox just gave him the amount of room that he was able to give him. The minimum amount of room there being, and that resulted unfortunately in a spin for Dimas, and that caused the catalyst of all the events to come. I'm not sure if XFox fully to blame for that, but I think the stewards will be taking a look at that incident, because I don't think that will go unreported.
No, I think it will be looked into after the race. So, but of course, you see Myth again next week. You might see the results haven't changed. So, yeah. But overall, that's a very good race. Have we got anyone for any interviews at all? Do you know?
Currently do not see anyone in the waiting room, so we'll just continue talking for a little bit, see if anyone moves in there so we can go for some interviews. Otherwise, we'll be cutting it short for tonight. It's actually a fairly quick one tonight. Of course, last week it took a little bit longer because we had a lobby disconnect after lap 4 or 5 at Coda, so we had to do it all over, and then when we were starting, the settings were incorrect, and we had to do it all over again. So that was a little bit chaotic, meant that we ended 15 to 20 minutes later than we would expect, but in the end it did not matter for Gottschalk, who won that race last time out. But from now on, we're going to look ahead, because next week we will be going back across the ocean once more, but this time we'll be going to the lovely Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. And Mackie, what are your thoughts on this track?
It's always been a little bit of a track for me that is sometimes good, sometimes not so good. It's a very interesting track. Of course, being a street circuit, the walls are very close. It can be very difficult for the drivers. It's another very technical circuit. It's quite a short one as well, with a very quick lap time. So, it could be very interesting. Could be very interesting next week. But for me personally, not my favourite track, but also definitely not the worst track in F1.
No, definitely not. And I think in the real world, Canada is one of those tracks that do get very interesting when it's raining. When it's dry, not too interesting. I think for the F1 game, it is still quite interesting when it is dry, because of that long strain, meaning that you can have overtakes happening up until the final corner leading up into the Wall of Champions. So it can really go down to the wire with a pretty much slipstream race to the finish line. That does make it interesting for the final lap battles, but all the way through, definitely, like you said, not the most exciting track on the calendar, but a track nonetheless that I love to see. And if we further take a look at the calendar, we have 12 rounds in total this season. After round 4 in Canada, we will go to Bahrain. Before round 6, we will go to Monaco. That should be very interesting. And then Monaco is followed by a couple of nice tracks. Then we go to Silverstone for round 7. Round 8 is at Zandvoort in the Netherlands. First time that I will be commentating on the track, which is also my home Grand Prix. So for me, that will be a very cool one. After well over a year, finally casting that Grand Prix, the last one that is still to do. Then round 9, we go to Saudi before moving on to Japan round 10. Then we have another race in Vegas for round 11. And finally, it is round 12, which is your season finale. And that is that Bahrain? It is Bahrain. So it was Qatar round 5 and it's Bahrain round 12. The flags look very similar. It's a little different shade of red caught me off. So indeed, quickly apologize. Just to correct that, we do have Qatar round 5 at Bahrain round 12. That will be the season finale. But that's all the way down in January. That is still almost 3 months away, Mackie. Fairly long season this time around with the holidays as well. But judging by the calendar, what race are you looking forward to the most?
So far in this calendar, I mean, it's going to be incredibly biased, as I'm sure anyone who's heard me commentate before, but that Silverstone Grand Prix, I think, is going to be the most interesting one left on the calendar. It's just one of my favourite circuits, personally. But again, that might just be the British bias coming in. So, take that information what you will.
Well, to be fair, Silverstone is one of those tracks that should be on any calendar in the F1 sim world. So I'm very, very glad that we have it on the calendar. And seeing it somewhere in the middle of the season, I think, is a nice place to have it as well. So it is something to build up to, but not have it be a decider of any sorts, because I don't think that is what Silverstone should deliver. Silverstone should just deliver the nice action when the battles are just starting to get heated. But I'm personally really looking forward to Monaco, because Monaco can either be clean all the way through or it can be complete chaos, especially with the drivers being so close to one another. So definitely a race looking out to as well. But to be fair, round 6, 7, 8, and 9, they're just 4 bangers in a row, and the middle part of the season is going to be very, very exciting.
Absolutely. But yeah, that is your season to come. And Myth, I think that's everything we've got left to cover.
I think that will be it for tonight indeed. We have nobody left in the waiting room, so no interviews tonight. Hopefully we'll have some interviews next week when we touch down in Canada, and we'll be driving at the Montreal International Circuit for round 4 of the calendar. This was it for tonight from us, at least from me. Mackie, thank you so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed it.
Of course. I absolutely did. It was great racing around a great circuit.
That is lovely to hear for me as well. A great race that we had here in Belgium. Let's see if there'll be any investigation into the move that Dimas made onto Exafox, or if that podium is going to stay. But as it stands now, it is a lovely win for Isaac Leet, the second for Gottschalk, and a third for Exafox. This was it from us here at PSGL PCF4. And as I said, next week I'll be back with a round 4 at Canada, where we resume the title fight. See you there, and good night.